Hi guys, Jay Smith here, welcome to the AskGolfNut channel and welcome to Titleist T150 irons review. I have been trying to get hold of Titleist for near on a year and a half or so now, maybe 2 years, and after repeated attempts at trying to get hold of them and then basically ignoring me, to get these reviewed I have had to go buy the 620CB, the T100s, the T150s, the T200, T350 and T400. Over there, I've done the 620 and the 100s already. If you haven't seen those, they're in my video listing. And so we're going to give these a good old test to see what kind of ball speed we get from the middle, what kind of ball speed we don't get when we don't hit the middle, and see what kind of heat maps we get. And then also the 70, 80 and 90 mile an hour swing speed data, because not all golfers swing at tour speeds. Technology wise in this, if you imagine this is a T100, just slightly bigger and with the same technology, just slightly bigger and stronger. This is a 32-degree loft where the T100 is 34. This is designed for a little bit more into a green. We are about 179 or so yards away. We are slightly downhill as well. I'm not quite sure I've got enough guns to get there, but we will see. We have different looks on this to the T100. It is slightly bigger. Every single dimension on the T150 is slightly bigger. Top lines are slightly thicker. Sole thicknesses are slightly thicker. This is not a big golf club. This is very much so just the T100, just a little bit bigger. Blade lengths are just a little bit bigger, and then down by the golf ball offset, considering this is everything is a little bit bigger, it does still look a very, very good iron. I can't complain. That's right out of the screws. That works very, very well. Club at speed, basically 90 miles an hour, 2 degrees from the inside, 0.7 degrees close, little baby draw dynamics, 0-0 on the strike. You cannot get better than bang on out the middle. 176 yards of carry, 4 yards offline, 37.5 yards, 38 yards if we're going to be rounding up. That's peak height, and then course descent angle, 49.1 degrees. Stopping on any green. These greens are ridiculously hard, by the way, and fast, just to make it much more difficult. Feel-wise, it feels basically exactly the same as what the T100 does. It's not the softest golf club in the world. I was expecting the T series, especially the 100, 150, being the forge. It has got a dual cavity and it has got tungsten in there, yes, no different to that of the T100, but I was expecting these to be a fraction softer. Doesn't matter, because it doesn't make it good or bad. Doesn't mean it is good or bad. It's just what someone likes. Some people like big golf clubs, some people like small golf clubs, some people like shiny ones or non-shiny ones. Some people like the explosive impact, and some people like a little bit of a dull one. It doesn't matter, it's just what you like. And so that's why the subjectivity side of things is always difficult to rate, and you can't rate it. Only things you can rate it on really is how the golf ball launches, how the face produces speed, and how the face produces spin. That's really, apart from the forgiveness side of things, that's how you can rate the golf clubs. Let's go give it another go, because that, from a starter, well, you couldn't get better than that. That's going to be a missed green, I think. Strike is still not bad. It's, go on, get a member's bounce, even though I'm not a member here. Very close, but not quite. Club at speed, 90.3 miles an hour, half slightly from the inside. This time the face was not released, and that's why we got that little push out to the right. 6mm toe, 5mm low, so yep, distinctly not as good as the previous one. It's going 170 yards of carry, 37 yards in the air, 49.5 degrees descent angle. Still stopping on any green if we'd have hit it, of which we didn't, because we were 9 or so yards offline. You can still distinctly feel that you're not hitting the middle. This is no different to that of the T100. They're starting to get a bit bigger golf clubs now, so we're starting to not lose feel or the understanding of where you're hitting the face. Not that, it's just it's starting to become a little bit more vague, but it works fairly well, even though if I didn't hit target. Give it another go. I mean, I can't complain. It's slightly low on the face, but as you can see, hit the pin. Oh, that's nearly second bounce dunk. Yeah, only a few millimeters out, but club head speed 90.5 miles an hour, club path slightly from the inside, face is basically 0, so we've got dead straight flight. We are 2mm toe, 3mm low, pretty darn a decent hit. 37 yards in the air, 49 degrees descent angle, as you saw. Stopped on the green and nearly dunked it on the second bounce, but it's doing very, very well. It's just a feel for me. It's not quite what I would like. Again, that's a subjectivity thing and just ignore it. And the only thing when it comes to looks, no different to the T100. The looks on this one are exactly the same as the T100, just a bit bigger. And I don't necessarily like the huge chunky back part and then the top part is uber thin, like it's near enough paper thin. I much rather like the blade, but the reason I didn't buy the blade to do a review, because no one cares about the blade, so it'll be a complete waste of money. You never know, it might be a complete waste of money anyway, but I think it's important I do these videos for the T series at least, because soon in the next sort of 3 months or so from when this video is being made, we are getting the new T series, and yes, I'm gonna probably have to buy them as well. So I need to start a GoFundMe page on our OnlyFans site, although I'm pretty certain I'll earn more money from a GoFundMe than I will OnlyFans. Anyway, let's get back to hitting this. Down by the golf ball, it does look a very nice golf club. It's slightly toey. I mean, it's not bad, it's just slightly toey, and it's slightly low, slightly toe, but it's functioning, works really well. Club speed 90.6 miles an hour. Path and face are boring, yep, that's why it's went fairly straight. We are 8 mil toe, 6 mil low. There you go. There is a slight low toe that I could feel. Can I tell to the exact millimeter like I can on the CB and the 100? Probably not, but I can definitely tell I'm hitting it there. 175 yards in the air, 36 yards peak height, and 48 degrees descent angles. Hitting target, and that's all we care about, and it's working fairly well. How forgiving it's going to be, not entirely certain. Remember, this is exactly the same as a T100, just bigger. Everything is exactly the same, just bigger. One more go, because I want to go hit it 3 different swing speeds, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, but I'm also looking at doing the heat map data. That'd be the fun one, to see how forgiving they really are. How much difference does that tungsten in there really make? Right, one last one. Let's see if we do a decent job. No is the answer. That's the worst one of the lot. Low heel. But it's just making the carry, which is the best thing, and that's the closest one of the lot. Club speed 90 miles an hour, 89.9. Club half is 0.0. Face is 0.2 close, so basically 0 as well. 7 mil heel, 8 mil low. There you go. I could feel that it definitely was not middle and it was low heel. That's why it's giving it a little bit of a cut flight rather than basically a dead straight. We're going 169 yards. We're losing a little bit of distance. 32.6 yards in the air, so we're losing some peak height, and 47 degrees descent angle, spinning at near 6,000. It's doing pretty well considering. Right, let's go hit this all over the face. We've hit some weird and wacko ones. I'm talking really weird and wacko to understand exactly how well this works from those weird and wacko parts. Let's also test it at 70, 80 and 90 miles an hour, because we all don't swing at tall speeds. Let's go see how the Titleist T150 gets on different golfers' swing speeds. So how does the T150 get on when you don't hit the middle, when you hit it all over the face, you catch a miss hit? How much ball speed do you lose from the toe, the heel, the low, all those different parts? Let's go have a look at the forgiveness first in the heat maps. On the screen, you can see this is the heat map chart, which is how we understand how much ball speed is lost. So it's a nice little green is good and red is bad kind of idea. But you can see at the top there, you've got the plus 22 on the left-hand side, that is the toe. Minus 22 on the right-hand side, that is the heel. You've got high and also low on there as well. We're looking at it as though it is face on to us. You've got that blue line, that's turf interaction line. If you hit the golf ball any higher on the face than 5 or 6 millimeters from where you should do, you're going to be entering the ground first, which is obviously not good whatsoever. And of course, if you do that, hit the chunk, hit the fat, whatever you want to call it, you are going to be talking about taking a chunk of where you are in the world out first, rather than anything to do with wondering how efficient high on the face is, which it isn't anyway. So you can see the green blob on this one looks actually quite similar to the 620 CB. But if anything, it's just not quite as, well, it's definitely not helpful off the toe and also off the heel. We'll go do toe first. If you go 20 millimeters off the toe, you are losing about 5% of your ball speed. But because this is a flat faced iron, not a roll and bulge curve faced hybrid ferry wood or driver, when you're looking at efficiency, ball speed is directly correlative to distance, and if you're going to lose 5% of your ball speed, you're going to be losing around 5% of your distance. And of course, at 20 millimeters, this isn't the biggest golf club in the world. It's still a decent miss, 3/4 of an inch plus off of the middle, is a decent miss, but you will be losing around about 5% of your distance. If you go to 20 millimeters off of the toe, again, you are losing around about 5%. And the interesting thing is that the T100 is just a little bit more helpful off of the heel. The T150 is slightly bigger. Everything is slightly larger on the T150, and of course, when you've got the old school blade, shall we say, with a very small blade length and relatively large hosel for the blade length size, it is common to see the center of gravity, the sweet spot, move over towards the heel. And as soon as you start making the golf club bigger, they try and move the center of gravity a little bit further away from the heel to have a bit more of a centered sweet spot. So you can see that it doesn't do as well off the heel as the T100, its smaller brother. But if you go low on the face, it's doing okay. You can go all the way down to 17 or so millimeters, let's say 16 to be kind. That's not far off top territory anyway, and you're losing in and around 3% of your distance. So considering this is still a player's iron, it is a little bit more of a stronger lofted, bigger brother to the T100, yes, but it is still effectively a player's iron. It's doing fine. Is it doing amazingly well in any particular direction, heel, toe, low? No, but it's doing fine. So let's go see how well it works from 70, 80 and 90 miles an hour. For that, we have the self-fit tool. This is the gold tier member application facility tool that you can compare all of the 80 or so irons that we have currently on the database against each other in flight. So we can actually see how functional a golf club is and how it peak heights, what the gapping is going to be. It is a wondrous little tool for you to use. Now on the top there, you can see we've got the club head speed, angle attack and shaft lean. We've set it at 70 miles an hour for the first 70 mile an hour part. We have the attack angle at -2 and the shaft lean at -2. Attack angle is how much the golf club comes down into the golf ball. So someone who's very steep would have a higher angle of attack or a bigger minus number, and then someone who's very shallow picks the golf ball off the floor, doesn't have a very steep angle attack whatsoever, will be shallower. That's the whole idea. And then when it comes to gold members, if you need any assistance whatsoever in understanding what kind of numbers that you deliver and how you should set these sliders, just, well, I'll put it in the box down there. They're my contact details. You can get hold of me or on the Discord server, which is possibly the best way of getting hold of me to get your answers. But you can see with shaft lean -2, that's just how much you de-loft. Some people add loft, de-loft more. You can set that slider as well. But 70 miles an hour with a 7-iron is going 125 yards max carry, dropping down to 120 yards average carry. Average carry is a nominal miss hit from around about ½ inch or so off of the face. So we're losing around about 5 yards from a nominal miss hit, which is good or bad, depending on obviously if you've got a forced carry or not. You need to know how, going back to the heat maps, how forgiving a golf club is. Going 23 yards in the air and 43 degrees descent angle. So not bad at all. We are going obviously 125 yards, 43 degrees will stop on most greens. I would say though, if you're going to start going into the 6-irons, remember these are strikes out of the middle. So as soon as you go into a 6-iron at 41 degrees, it is over the 40-degree mark, but if you miss hits, you're going to start losing out in ball speed, losing out in peak height, losing out in descent angle, and that 41 degrees for a 6-iron is going to go dangerously close into the 30s, and then it's going to hit the green, whatever that will be, and just jump out the back. So 7-iron for a 70 mile an hour swing speed absolutely would be the last iron I would suggest. If you deliver like we are got on FK, if you are someone who delivers a little bit more loft, etc., then those numbers will change, but then you would just change the sliders at the top. Going to an 80 miles an hour swing, that same 7-iron, going around about 146 yards now maximum carry. Average carry is 141, so still losing around about 5 yards or so. Peak height is 30 yards in the air and descent angle's 47 degrees. That will stop on any green, 47. And so when you're looking at going even down into the 5-iron at this speed, 44 degrees, I would absolutely say that after 5-iron though, yes, I would be going into something like a hybrid, because even though the 4-irons at 40 plus, going back to these are perfect strikes. As soon as you start getting shaft lengths a little bit longer, it gets progressively more difficult to actually hit the middle, and so you are going to find yourself losing distance, or at least dropping distance, possibly far more in the 5s and 4s than you will do your 7-iron. But it's doing absolutely fine at 80 miles an hour. Let's go 90 miles an hour, 163 yards of carry, 157 yards, dropping around about 6 yards or so now from a normal nominal miss. Not a big miss, a normal nominal miss. 39 yards in the air and 51 degrees descent angle. So it's not going quite as far as I would normally hit it, but then I'm someone who generally speaking will hit slightly down more and also de-loft more. So I'm more like hitting a 6-iron rather than a 7-iron. But again, you can see the differences on there. You go to a 7-iron, it's going 177 yards, 39 yards in it. It's doing very, very well. And absolutely, you could play a 4-iron in the T150. You can't necessarily take this one to the T100. The T100 has a lower launch factor, so you move into the 4-iron and it starts becoming less functional than this one. So yes, I would use the T150 from a blending point of view if you were thinking about having T100s in the normal irons, and then when it comes to you need a little bit more assistance in getting the golf ball launching, that the T150 does better than the T100. Absolutely, for the 4 and 5-iron, I would look to the T150. So as a conclusion to the Titleist T150 irons, let's go looks, feel, performance, and then forgiveness at the end. Looks and feel. It's a bigger version of its smaller brother, the T100. Personally, I don't feel it's a bad looking iron. I don't necessarily like that big bulbous bum to it at the back and then a very paper thin top to it. It does look a little bit mismatched. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to get the center of gravity lower, trying to get that center of gravity in a position where they can start getting that golf ball launching. It does do a better job than the T100, but then the T150 is slightly bigger. When it comes to feel, it's an interesting one. Even the 620 CB, I was expecting it to be softer than it actually was. No different to the T100, and the T150 is just getting a little bit crisper. It's nowhere near as prominent as the T200. Haven't done that video. There is a distinct difference in T200, but the difference between T100 and T150, no. There is marginal. Great for blending, no problem whatsoever, but it is slightly crisper. Now that's either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on what you like. When it comes to performance, it does very, very well when you hit it out the middle. As soon as you start adding speed to like 90 miles an hour and you're hitting out the middle, every golf club nearly works. It's just how they work in different ways. That's why as soon as you're starting talking about very, very low swing speeds of 70 miles an hour, no different to the very fast swing speeds, the 90 miles an hour, you will require different things. Lower swing speeds will need as much launch factor as you possibly can do to try and get that golf ball launching, to keep the carry on the ball as best as possible. When it comes to the 90 plus miles an hour, launch factor, you may need something that launches a little bit lower, again, depending on how you deliver. And that's the whole idea of measuring the metrics rather than just going by the marketing. Forgiveness-wise, it's an interesting golf club. It's very much so one for really you need to be hitting this out in the middle. Is it the most forgiving golf club in the world? No, it's not. It's actually slightly, I wouldn't say it's less forgiving than its smaller brother, the T100, but it's just moved around a little bit because of the fact, obviously, it's a slightly bigger head. The center of gravity has moved a little bit. It does do slightly better off certain parts of the face, and so if you do miss the golf ball in a certain part, then absolutely you'll be fine. But just beware that it is not the most forgiving golf club on the planet. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go and give it a big old thumbs up. Hit that like button, please. YouTube likes, so do I. Down there is a subscribe button. It's free. It is great for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. Next to that one is a bell icon. That's a notification bell. If you click that one, that'll let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.